You need to prove you're looking for work.
Yeah, I've been looking, trust me.
3 signatures by tomorrow, or you can tell it to the judge.
Hello and welcome to the Magic Hour with Paul Chappell, your host. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Upside, a movie starring Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This movie has a lot of baggage coming right out the gate. You got it coming out on the tail end of Kevin Hart's scandal with the Oscars. You had a lot of people upset, I guess, because Bryan Cranston is playing a disabled person, and if you read some of the reviews for this movie, a lot of people felt like they should have looked for a disabled actor to play his character, and I was kind of confused by this because I don't really know of any quadriplegic actors who could have taken this role. I mean, maybe they're out there, I don't know. So right from the go, this movie had a lot of baggage going in. So I looked at the reviews with a little bit of trepidation, and I was pleasantly surprised to see on Rotten Tomatoes that the audience score at least was very high. It was like 88%. But the critical response to the movie was like, I think it was 37%. So it may have gone up a little bit since then. But the movie opened big. It opened $19 million. And it was the first movie to unseat Aquaman. So it has that going for it. So apparently the controversy isn't having that much of an effect on ticket sales, and I was happy for that because it feels like, reading some of the reviews I've read, that people were judging the movie based on outside factors, like I mentioned, rather than whether the movie was actually entertaining. And I have to say, I've said it in other shows, Kevin Hart is not my favorite comedian. He's not even probably in my top 10. I've seen maybe 3 of his movies, and I didn't really find them that great or that funny. As I've mentioned before, my wife loves his comedy, but I've never been able to really get into him. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was actually looking forward to seeing it because, first of all, I love Bryan Cranston, and I thought his pairing of Kevin Hart just looked right. I haven't felt this way about a pairing in a movie since probably Rush Hour with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. So I remember seeing the trailer for Rush Hour and thinking, oh my God, that pairing is just perfect. Just the contrast of the personalities is just going to work, and I felt the same way with Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart. And I just could not wait to see this movie. And I was pleasantly surprised that it was really uplifting. This is the first movie, I think, it's been a while since I've actually dropped tears. I mean, I was embarrassed because I went to see it with my wife, and the lights were about to come up at the end of the movie. And I was just, oh my God, I was like trying to hide it. I was like, please don't come up. Please lights, stay down. I was just praying that I would be kept in darkness a little bit longer so I could wipe away the tears I actually had at the end of the movie. So I'm going to go ahead and right off and say, yes, I love this movie and I think you should see it. Kevin Hart can obviously do dramatic roles. He was just excellent in this. I just can't overemphasize how well he did in this movie. I would go as far as to say that he should get an Oscar nomination for this role because it was just fabulous. But and I usually don't use words like fabulous, but it was, God. Oh, so what was the movie about? Let me get into the plot. It's basically about a billionaire who became a quadriplegic because of a paragliding accident. And at the beginning of the movie, you see him being wheeled out of the hospital by his assistant, played by Nicole Kidman, Yvonne. And he's complaining because she didn't honor his DNR, which I don't think is actually possible. I think if you actually file a DNR, that the hospital has to honor those wishes. They wouldn't necessarily listen to his assistant unless she had a medical proxy. So right off, I was kind of frowning a little bit about the accuracy. And then there's another scene where Kevin Hart is, they kind of jump ahead in the plot a little bit, and then they jump back, like a lot of movies do these days, where they jump forward, and Kevin Hart is driving Bryan Cranston's Ferrari, and you don't know why he's speeding, but he's speeding through the streets. The police stop him, and he lies to police and tells them that Bryan Cranston's character, Philip Lacasse, is having a seizure. So Bryan Cranston kind of rolls his eyes and pretends to have a seizure to get Kevin Hart out of this situation with the cops. So right there, I've kind of had a problem with the accuracy of this movie, because in real life, the police probably would have shot him 20 times at the very least. A black man driving a Ferrari in Midtown Manhattan, speeding, and he actually evades pursuit from the police. Anyway, okay, that's my little joke. But so I kind of had some concerns about the accuracy right off the bat, but it got better because the character Kevin Hart is playing, Dale Scott, you find out he's an ex-con who hasn't paid his child support in a while. He's got a kid and an ex-girlfriend who hates him pretty much, and he has a meeting with his parole officer, and you probably have seen this in the trailer, but she says you need 3 signatures or you're going back to jail. So with the threat of violating his parole and the fact that he hasn't paid child support, he has to find a job, and he has to find a job fast. And he looks in the paper, and I think he applies at McDonald's, some low-end jobs. He sees a job for a janitor in the newspaper, and he goes to apply for this job, and it happens to be in the same building that Bryan Cranston is living in, who at that same time is interviewing people for caregiver. They call it life auxiliary, but Kevin Hart's character, Dale Scott, he walks into the lobby and he sees a guy trying to find out where to go for the interview, and he thinks that guy is interviewing for the same position he is, even though he's a well-dressed white guy. So he tells the doorman, "Oh yeah, I'm applying for that position too." So he ends up applying by accident for this life auxiliary position, and basically he barges into the room because he has to go see his son or something. He has someplace to be, and he just wants a signature on his parolee employment form. And Bryan Cranston kind of has an ulterior motive in choosing a life caregiver. He wants someone he thinks he can corral and give in honoring his DNR. So he actually doesn't want somebody who would be good in the position, because he's gotten so depressed that he kind of wants to die. So that motivation was kind of it was kind of a little bit trite, but okay, I kind of went with it on the whole. But needless to say, Dale Scott gets the job, and he's not qualified whatsoever for this position. And of course, hijinks ensue. You know, there, even though it is a drama, it's very funny, and it's one of those movies where the actual comedy comes from situational things that happen because Dale is not qualified for this position, and his past and his social standing, of course. I mean, it's kind of cliched, but it runs up against the the values of the people he meets in the household, because he has a bunch of people already working for him. He has a maid, he has a physical therapist, he has an executive assistant, like I said, played by Nicole Kidman, and all these people do whatever he wants them to do, and yet Dale is there and is kind of being disobedient to him, which he kind of likes, because he's also being disobedient to the advice of his executive assistant, who wants another caregiver. And like I said, she in the beginning, you see that she didn't honor his DNR. So the rebellious nature of their relationship kind of endears them to each other in a way. And Dale, throughout the movie, he starts to repair slowly but surely the relationship between him and his girlfriend and his son, because he finds out that this position actually pays is almost $3,000 a week. Sign me up, and it's a live-in position. So he's making over $100,000 a year. So I guess that's enough for the plot. Like I said, I've already said, the movie has had a lot of comedy. If you like uplifting films, go see this film. You will be uplifted by the end. If I had some complaints about the movie, I think they kind of glossed over some of the health issues that quadriplegics have. The problems they have with bed sores and blood clots and urinary tract infections and even kidney failure in some cases. They kind of glossed over it. They touched on it a couple of times. There was this scene where Bryan Cranston is having trouble breathing, and Dale has to come in and help him. So you had a couple instances of that, but it was very, very light on the actual challenges that quadriplegics face, and the fact that he's rich kind of helps him along in his disability. But the reality for most quadriplegics is that they can't get this kind of help, that live-in help. And I read some figures on the internet before I came in here for the review, and the cost of caring for a quadriplegic is in the millions. So the fact that he is a billionaire kind of makes it seem less an issue than it really is, if you get what I'm saying. But although I say that, I also have to mention that this is based on a real life story, and it's actually a remake of a French film called The Untouchables, about a real billionaire who actually had this experience with a caregiver. So it's actually based in reality. So I can't fault it for that necessarily, but it does kind of gloss over some of the messier aspects of being a quadriplegic. I feel like it kind of glossed over, or not, maybe that's the wrong word for it. It kind of made the challenges that Dale faces less heightened, just based on the fact that he gets this salary. But I felt like they could have explored his background a little bit more, because you find out that he was in the jail for robbery now, or maybe burglary. he was in prison for theft. I don't know whether he actually robbed somebody or just burgled their home. I found it kind of absurd that somebody like Kevin Hart would actually be able to rob somebody. But I felt like they could have explored that a little bit. Because he does steal something at the very beginning of the movie when he goes in for the interview, and they kind of hint that that's going to play a major role later in the film. And I won't say whether it does or not, but I felt like they could have used a little bit more than that. What are his struggles as somebody who's an ex-con? I mean, you see the situation he is at the beginning, but I felt like he kind of went from having really real problems to just everything being solved by getting this big check suddenly. So there's that. But on the whole, I wouldn't fault it for that too much. In fact, I'm probably going to go see it again. Yeah, I was that entertained by this movie, and I felt like now I'm finally in my wife's corner a little bit, because we both seen a Kevin Hart movie that we like, even though she didn't get choked up in this movie for some reason. She said, "Oh, this must have been a bro thing." She actually said that to me. So I thought that was funny. But like I said, I'm giving it 2 thumbs up, and I recommend that you see it. And that's all I got for the upside. And I want to once again thank my new subscribers, and please give me a like if you like this review, and tell me what you liked about the movie, or what you thought of my review in the comments. And that's it. And I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.